Ladies and gentlemen, as Grain has just told you, I've been a member of UKIP for 20 years and I've proudly got my 20 years medal. I was 14, thank you. I was 14 and studying for O-levels when I first realised what a catastrophe it would be for Britain if we were to join the common market. This was during the 1960s, before treacherous Ted Heath signed the Treaty of Rome. And one of the exam questions would inevitably be, should Britain join the common market? And it was while I was researching this subject, because in those days you had to, I discovered what the true cost to Britain would be if we were to join. And I've been an ardent opponent of the European project ever since. In 1975, I campaigned for a no vote in the referendum on our membership of the EEC. And at that time, leaflets were delivered to every house on behalf of the no and yes campaigns. Other publications appeared, and among them a leaflet from the Daily Express, which listed 10 things that they warned would happen. As you know, the people who were running the yes campaign told everybody that we were lying. And now if you have a look at that Daily Express leaflet with the 9 things, you can tick them all off. And the second one on the list was free movement of immigrants from the European Union into our country. So we were warned back in 1975 that this would happen. As warned as well by us, as Tony's also mentioned, the UK's fishing, the UK's third largest industry at that time, which employed thousands of people, has been decimated. 60% of European fish stocks were in the UK waters because our fishermen used nets of a wider mesh, and sure enough, as soon as the continental fishing boats came into our waters, the fish stocks plummeted. The EU's common agricultural policy decimates against efficient UK farmers, and the huge fruit orchards that we used to have flowering beautifully every spring, they've all but disappeared. And now we have the issue that our farmers apply all the directives. Our poultry farmers spent 400 million bringing the egg-laying hens cages up to a certain specification. 11 EU countries still have not complied with this directive, and yet they're still allowed to export eggs to the United Kingdom. And it's detrimental to our poor farmers because obviously their prices are a lot more expensive. On gaining my A-levels, I went to the University of Bath, where I obtained an honours degree in biochemistry and a PhD in pharmacology. And my first research job was in the National Health Service, which I went to join in 1988. And at the time, the National Health Service, it did have a few issues, but nothing like what it has now. And one of the worst things that's ever happened is the Working Time Directive. Historically, junior doctors used to work long hours. It gave them the opportunity to gain experience, and now they are not allowed to work nights if they've been working days. The hospital at great expense has to employ locums from the European Union. We can't take them from countries like Australia or New Zealand who speak English. We have to take them from Germany, and as we know, there's been some disasters where we've had doctors who don't speak English have unfortunately killed patients because they've prescribed the wrong drugs. And on to drugs. We used to have a postcode lottery, but this is now far worse. As the demand for the NHS services is increased from people who are coming from abroad, and the fact that people can no longer get out of our services, hospitals are struggling, the A&Es are struggling. So people, ladies and gentlemen, as warned previously in 1975, the European project has been a disaster for the country, and it's destroying us. The only way we can retain our identity is to leave the EU and become independent once more. So if you love your country, vote UKIP.